Good morning, my friends. Welcome to our New Testament challenge. Today, I'll be sharing some thoughts, excuse me, and reflections from the first chapter of the book of First Corinthians. Paul is writing to the church at Corinth. We definitely have two letters. There's references to maybe a third or fourth letter that we don't know about, but he was in constant communication with them. The church at Corinth was very vibrant, very diverse, very active, and because of all that, there was also a pretty steady stream of conflict within the life of the church. Part of it because there were so many different types of people. There were Jews, there were Gentiles, there was rich and poor, there were all different ethnicities. Corinth was a very diverse city with all sorts of religions, and so there was just a lot going on. And so Paul was constantly talking to them about issues within the life of the church, which, considering that, as I tell people, sin is sin, there's not a whole lot of new stuff in the world. There's a lot of lessons in Paul's letter to the church at Corinth that we can apply for us today, 2,000 years later. He starts off, greetings, salutations. It's kind of normal. This is who I am. This is where I'm from. Hey, these people, greet those people in your church, type of thing. And I give thanks to my God for you. He talks about his prayers for the people. That's always important at the very beginning. He talks about how he has prayed for that church. Then, though, he jumps right in. He says, all right, I hear there are arguments and divisions in the church, and I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. Read my lips. There ought not to be divisions within the church. I know some of you say, well, I follow Paul, or I follow Apollos, or I follow Peter, or I follow Christ, kind of each one sounding better than the others. And he's saying, no, I didn't baptize you. Peter didn't baptize you. Paul wasn't crucified for you. Let's make sure the focus is on the focus, that all of us belong to Christ. Now, within the body of Christ, there are going to be differences, but all of us, ultimately, if you follow Peter or Paul or, Apollos or whoever you follow, that doesn't make you better than the other person. It makes you different, but that doesn't make you better. We all are one in our belief and our following of Christ. So just kind of mention that. And then he talks about the message of the cross. And he says, all right, we got to be honest here. It is seen as foolish in the world. Let's be honest here. People will look at you and will think you've gone crazy because you believe this stuff. And he says, I get that. And he says, but God has decided to take what is foolish to the world and make it the wisdom of God, and vice versa. What is wise in the world is foolishness to God. And so it can be difficult at times because we are raised in the world, and we are raised to compare and to look at wisdom and all this other stuff, knowledge from a certain angle. That's what we're used to doing. So to be able to think differently, to think about the things of Christ as wise and the things of the world as foolish, to look at the world differently and to consider it differently, consider everything that we do differently, it's going to take time. And when you have a church like Corinthian church was, that is a mix of mature disciples and new disciples, a mix of Jewish believers who've grown up with the law and those who've never heard of the law, and everywhere in between. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. But just remember this. Remember that what is wise by human standards is foolishness to God. What is foolish by God's standard is wisdom what is foolish by human standard is wisdom to God. Something to consider as we move into 1 Corinthians. Take care, my friends, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.